I think that the key in a market like this is investing in yourself. And the investment comes in multiple ways. One is going to be definitely be education. What classes are you taking? Are you surrounding yourself with those professionals that challenge you and make you better? Or are you spending time with people who are complaining about what's not going on in the market? Because if you're with the latter, I'm so sorry that that's going to drag you down. That's a boat anchor. What I would rather see anybody do is how are you investing in yourself? Like turning your car into that mobile classroom. Are you listening to podcasts like this one? Are you, what classes are you taking? What are you hearing from a variety of voices?
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. And today I have a spectacular friend, an amazing leader in the industry, Holly Mabery. I've known her for years. I can't wait to tell you a little bit about her. I'm here with Bella Loomis, my co-host, and by way of introduction, first of all, I'm stoked you're here, Holly, and I want to just share that Holly's been in the business since 1998. Earlier than me. Is that what it was, Holly?
1998, yeah. A few less gray hairs and right out of college, man.
Awesome. She actually has been working in the Sedona and the Prescott area, and I remember I've been in the business since 2001, and Holly was the president of the Arizona Association of Realtors, which is kind of a big deal here in Arizona. And the very first time I watched her was when she taught a class, and she taught it using the Jeopardy theme. And it was the best CE class I've ever taken in my life.
So no pressure there.
Yeah, no pressure. So not to mention, Holly has just a bunch of letters behind her name, ABR, SRS. She's instructed for GRI. And if you're not familiar with real estate, these are all credentials and accreditations we get to just help us be better fiduciary agents for our clients. And she also is very adept with short sales. I've watched her just completely gain respect throughout the years. And she has come to the point in her career where she's the director of operations for eXp Realty for the company, the national company, or for the company within North America, right? I'm sure you'll correct me if I get it wrong, Holly. All I can tell you is she's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I get to be the SVP for Brokerage Operations for US. So US Realty and Commercial.
Thank you. Thanks for setting me straight on that. Well, Holly, as we get this going, I just wanted to tell everybody this is an honor, and I've looked up to you for a long, long time. And you've had to navigate some pretty monumental changes over the last few months. Would you agree?
The changes the last few months have been pretty incredible. I think what's been so unique when I look at it is we all got to do it together. Like the industry as a whole, we all made this substantial change. And it was definitely, forced upon us by outside sources. And a lot of times when you see changes, it's more small or local, especially when it comes to real estate. We might see a new form, we might see a local rule, things of that nature, maybe zoning, or a law change statutorily in a state. But this was wide sweeping across the nation. And I think that what's been so great about it and our scale at eXp is being nationally, we had resources that some brokerages didn't have. And so that put us in this beautiful position to really collaborate differently, understand what was going on in the company or in the nation. And then how do we take that locally to serve our agents and our clients there? And that's been the most exciting is, what does that look like? How do we do it? I'll share this with you, Jeff. We took to heart a white paper that was published in February around forms and specifically a buyer broker agreement. And what was so interesting about it, it came from the Consumer Federation of America. And this is the think tank group that had lobbied wholeheartedly about all of the changes in lending that occurred in 2017. And they were very effective in being pro-consumer and so forth. they had done a white paper that Inman had published and a couple of other real estate magazines. And our team took it, sat down and went, okay, how do we embrace this? How do we do the right thing? What should we pay attention to? And when the NAR settled in March, it was like, okay, it's game time. How do we do this in a completely different way to put our agents at the center point of doing the right thing? And that's what I did on my summer vacation.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, Holly, and you must be exhausted some nights.
There were a lot of sleepless nights up. There was one night we had done a draft of the buyer broker, and I was like, all right, I sent it out to a couple people to give feedback. I was feeling really good, and I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning at, like, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. I went, that's not good enough. We didn't do the right thing. And immediately my team was so amazing. I worked with a lot of folks on the East Coast. So we got on the phone about 4:30 in the morning and rewrote the entire document. And that's what we have in production now, because it was like, we missed the mark. Let's do it the right way. And the Consumer Federation of America came back and they're like, yeah, you listened and we appreciate it. And now we're getting feedback from state associations and actually real estate commissioners, departments of real estate that have come back and said, these forms are good and we can get behind them. So thank you.
You know what's really cool is, first of all, I've enjoyed our early morning text exchanges because I know you and I have done that a few times at 5:30 in the morning because I know you're an early riser like me. But I'm really proud of our company because not only have you tried to do everything possible to educate our agents and take care of our own agents, but you've also led the industry abundantly, right? A lot of people I think come from scarcity, but you were trying to create forms for the betterment of the industry and for the betterment of the consumer. And for that, I am so proud to be affiliated with what everything you guys did. It was high road the whole way. So thank you.
No, thank you. It was so cool to be a part of something where we didn't have fear. And I think that that was the coolest part out of it is, how do we do the right thing? And if we truly believe we're doing the right thing, then we lead with that. And when we were finalizing the document, I was working with our legal team and I said, okay, we need to put a copyright on it. And they're like, yep, no problem. And I went, we're not going to copyright these. We're going to give them away. And
That's
and
right.
I got permission from our CEO, Leo, and he's like, yeah, give them away. Take care of people. And so that's what we've done. And with every step, it was, how do we make this industry better? And that mindset has been a relief. Honestly, it's we're coming from that place of, how do we take care of people and do the right thing, um, and to get to come to work each day focused on that. It's so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah, it's so good, Holly. And that's what I love about you, Holly. One of the many things I love about you, you always put a positive spin on things. Whatever you have to face, you always look at the bright things. You focus on the positive things. You know, if you're a buyer or seller and you're listening to this podcast and you don't really know a lot about all the minutia and the lawsuits and things, what really has changed? Could you explain to the buyers and sellers what has really changed, and how have those changes become a better thing for the consumer public?
You know what? If you're a buyer in today's market, I think what I'm so excited for with buyers right now is your choice. You have choice and a voice where you always had, but now the positive has been accentuated. What I love about real estate in the state of Arizona, as you get to choose your agent, and when you choose your agent, you're going to sign an agency disclosure and election that basically is a piece of paper that says, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you as your agent. This is what you can expect of me. And I'm just disclosing how I'm going to work for you. What's so great about that is we do that for both our buyers and our sellers. Now, with some of the rule changes our industry has gone under, as a buyer, you will also know up front what that fee is. And that's tremendous. So, as a buyer right now, what I would recommend is, you need to interview an agent and ask them about how they show up. What does it look like? What are things that are important to you as a buyer? Do you want ease of a transaction? Do you need a lot of communication? Is it important to you to see every property? Do you want a wide variety of properties, or are you really focused on a certain zip code or neighborhood or subdivision? And then you want to find someone and understand the skills that they have to help you negotiate, not just price, but all the terms of the house. How do they help you with home inspections? How do they help you understand what you should be looking at in HOA docs, financials, all of that kind of thing? When you go to choose your agent, they're the total package. They help kind of shepherd you through from start to finish. And I think that that's the new rule changes have put the buyer in that position to negotiate in a way that we've not seen in some time. Now, on the seller side, this is the same. For the seller, now you are in a position where you are paying your listing agent a fee for service to actually show up and take care of them. But this is also what's cool. You then have the ability to negotiate if you want to offer compensation to a buyer's agent, and you can do that upfront, right? You can do it to everybody, maybe the same amount. Cool. That's something we've done in the past, and you can absolutely continue that if you're really motivated to sell quickly. Or you can do it on demand, which is basically with each showing, you can say, "Yeah, I'm open to it. I'm willing to offer X amount," like whatever makes sense for you on that day. And then finally, the last could be, "Hey, you know what? Put it in your offer. I'm very open to paying. I just want to see your full offer and negotiate it." And I think for a seller, that kind of opportunity to understand who's on the other side of the transaction, how you get that through, what is the totality, the package deal, so to speak, that's super cool. So I like the changes for the consumer in that you have decision making, but it's really important to choose the best agent for you to explain that process.
Along with that, even as a newer agent like myself, just like the education you provide and as an agent and the buyer just learning all the things about the industry. They don't, I mean, I've talked to buyers and sellers, they do know what's going on, but they really don't. So it's just adapting to these new changes, which, like you said, is really cool, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like if you're if you're in the market for a house right now, the key is you're going to have a great professional who's going to take care of you, and you
Hmm.
want to choose that person wisely and upfront, right? Like you don't want to look at a bunch of different houses with different people and not have a good feel for who's going to take care of your needs. Have those conversations.
Hmm.
Like you're not ordering a pizza online. You're really taking some time, and I think that that's what's so powerful. But the next step to that is for you and I to know, Bella, like you and I will do so many transactions a month. And so we will have a working knowledge to shepherd our folks through. What's important about this with a buyer or seller, they may only do 2 to 3 transactions in their lifetime. So the opportunity is this is not like what you did in the past. I'm here to help you with today, and we're going to create a plan or a strategy that makes sense for you and your family. I get to customize this for you, and that's my favorite.
I love it. I love it. Change is, like you said, it can be scary, but you just have to adapt. And I feel like it's so good for the industry.
Yeah. I think the thing I will say is this, even though we saw some changes be ushered in on mid August, for the most part, the world kept turning. Nothing has really changed. People are still buying and selling. And with the reduction of interest rates, and if you're in Arizona, we saw the heat go down just a little bit for a couple weeks. So people started to ebb and flow and move. What is important now is what's important to your family, how we take care of you. So as a professional, when you engage me or anyone in my profession, you want to make sure that you've got someone that you're asking questions of. How are you going to communicate? How do you like to work? When can I reach you? What's
Hmm.
important if I say, "Hey, I'm shopping on price, not time." If I'm shopping on time, not price. Those are important things to talk about with your agent.
So, Holly, we have the largest producing real estate company in the world, last time I checked.
Yeah.
Not bad. 2023, over 355,000 sides. What is it like? What's a typical day in the life being a senior vice president of operations for this company? What does that look like every day?
You know what? I love it because each day is a little bit different, but I wake up very focused on how do we make it better. And so some days it's about, solving IT challenges. Some days it's about rules and regulations with a Department of Real Estate or a legal issue, or potentially, new rule changes coming out of an association. And some days it's all about like answering agent questions. And so I love all of that because each moment it's okay, how do I help you and how do I plan for the future? So right now with my team, we're talking a lot about 2025. We're talking a lot about what it looks like in the industry. What are we preparing for as hopefully the judge ratifies everything come November. Now, this is what I will say. I found out today that two state associations received CIDs from the Department of Justice. Okay, so for those of you inside baseball, what does that mean? It's basically a ask for information and demand. And so what will happen is these associations, the states will turn over whatever information they're looking for, whether it's their forms, their rules, what kinds of things they've done. The Department of Justice right now is looking to see like how are we taking care of the consumer? Are we operating differently, or is there a lot of things that are really in sync that is not on good for the consumer? I'll say this: every company is so unique. Every agent is so unique, even within the same company, that it's important to understand what fits for you as a consumer. But what I love out of knowing this is, and if I'm going to use my crystal ball, which is more of a magic 8 ball right now, guys, is we'll see the Department of Justice get their information by end of October. That's the date that's been set. Then what will then happen is I expect the Department of Justice to ask maybe for a continuance or an extension before the judge rules in Sitzer, which was supposed to be mid end of November. So that may go into the new year. So that means that the settlements as they have been proposed may not be ratified until 2025. Now, what does that mean to you and I day to day? Absolutely nothing. We get to go out and help people buy and sell. We get to use the new forms that have been put in place and the new rules that came to us in some areas beginning of August. They're still there. They're not going away. So I think it's fair to say that it doesn't matter what the judge does. It doesn't matter what the Department of Justice does. The page has been turned on our industry. So now we focus on how we take care of the consumer and go on to next.
Outstanding. You've been helping buyers and sellers your whole career. And I would imagine with all your responsibilities, you probably don't get to do that as much as you used to do. And I've always kind of seen you as a deal maker. Honestly, you're a really good negotiator, and I've always looked at you as somebody that knows how to hold deals together. And do you kind of miss that, being in the trenches on a day to day?
Absolutely. I will share, if I get to sell 1 or 2 homes a year, I feel so lucky. And I do have one right now, super past client that I care a lot for, that trusted me to sell their home. And getting to work with agents that maybe I haven't worked with before has been, and I've got a brand new agent on the other side of this transaction, crushing it. Not with our company, with another company, but absolutely crushing it. And I told her, I was like, hey, you don't need to hear this from me, but your contract was well written. How you negotiated this, like, you are doing a phenomenal job. And I love working with you. Like, you're an agent I will look forward to in the future getting to do a cross sale with. And the reason I share this with you all is it's so important. I think when you've been in the business as long as you and I have been, Jeff, the more we recognize game meets game as far as people who do it really, really well, and trust that the deal gets done. And there have been times I was sitting with a member of our National Agent Advisory Committee a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Holly, I just closed this huge deal. We were multiple offers. We actually got it for less than list price. But the listing agent came in at close of escrow, and she pointed to me and she said, look, you need to know the only reason you got this deal, you were less than everybody else. Your offer wasn't as good, but you had the best agent.
That's right.
And I look at that, and how many times in our career have we been able to, because of our reputation, because of how we write offers, because of how we show up, Like people are like, oh, it's Jeff. Absolutely. I'm going to take that offer. Like I know it's going to be a breeze. He's good to work with. We get it done. Um, if there are problems, we overcome it. And I think that then when you look at this market that we get to be in for the next foreseeable year and a half, we're in a professionals market.
That's right.
This is where everybody gets to elevate. So how you write your offer matters. The words you use in text messages and emails, phone calls, they matter. How you communicate, your timing, it matters. And people remember that. Real estate's that profession where it's not uncommon to see somebody 20 years later and it's like, I remember doing a deal with you. It was terrible. Like you always remember the terrible, right? Like everybody remembers the car crash. So it becomes one of those like, all right, what are you really doing? How do you do it well?
Yeah, it's like you and I have been through some crazy markets. 06 was tough. 09 was really hard. I started a company in 09. People thought I was nuts.
You were nuts.
And
Can we be
I
clear right
was.
there? Yeah.
And I am still kind of nuts. But you know what? It's like people are like, well, how are you getting through this market? I'm like, I've been in worse markets, you know, and this is a market where you got to double down on your skills. You got to be around the right people. You got to reinvest in training and really excel at the fundamentals, you know? And so I look at this as an opportunity, Holly, because in these markets that have shifted, you'll see agents leave the industry because they just can't, or they don't have the willingness or the strength to get through it. You'll see a lot of people leave, and then the dust will settle, and you'll see the people that are left over that are the consummate professionals, and they'll actually have more business than they had before.
For
You
sure.
know, so I'm telling people, you just got to hang in there. Sometimes if you don't go backwards, you're winning, you know, just especially financially. You know, if you can just hang in there, keep your expenses low, keep growing, keep moving forward, move that needle just a little bit every day. You're going to make it.
Well, I think that the key in a market like this is investing in yourself. And the investment comes in multiple ways. One is going to be definitely be education. What classes are you taking? Are you surrounding yourself with those professionals that challenge you and make you better? Or are you spending time with people who are complaining about what's not going on in the market? Because if you're with the latter, I'm so sorry that that's going to drag you down. That's a boat anchor. What I would rather see anybody do is how are you investing in yourself? Like turning your car into that mobile classroom. Are you listening to podcasts like this one? Are you, what classes are you taking? What are you hearing from a variety of voices? This would be the other thing that I would suggest. Get out of your local market area to take classes. So in the dark times, right? 2006, 7, 8, 9, that's when I got the majority of my designations and certifications. I got out of my local market area and I went and met people throughout the state. And that paid dividends for me later because I spent 1 year just huge in production. It was all referral. I spent nothing on advertising I didn't door knock. I didn't cold call. Like most of my business never came from that because I invested in other ways. Now, I'm not knocking that because you certainly can, but know what works for you and your style. And I think that if you invest in yourself right now and you find the groups, you find the classes, you listen to podcasts, and then you're consistent about it. One of my favorite football players, Jerry Rice, always said, today I'm going to do something that others won't. So tomorrow I can do something that others can't. And that's actually a sticky note right here on my computer because every day I look at that and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do today so consistently that nobody's willing to do it? But in days, weeks, years, people are going to be like, oh, how did you do that? Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
That was like what Vince Lombardi used to talk about, right? It's blocking and tackling.
Yeah. Well, John Wooten, he would spend the first practice of every year talking about how to tie your shoes properly.
That's right.
Because if you tie your shoes properly, you can last the whole game. If your shoes are uncomfortable and you get blisters, you can't play.
Yeah, and Bella, you can speak to that. Bella went to the World Series of softball, and by the way, I don't know if you knew this, Bella, but Holly also played softball. So Holly went to with ASU to the College World Series,
Nice.
and so
yeah, I was not at your level. Let us be clear. Yeah, not even close.
But yeah, everything you've been saying, it's just the little things matter and you get better every single day. And it's just that consistency that you have to commit to. And as a newer agent, that is the biggest thing I've learned so far is just consistency. And I've seen agents not put in the work and they don't get the results that they want and they're surprised about it. But it's just celebrating the little things each and every day.
For sure. I think when you look at real estate, this is a you wake up unemployed every day. And so at that opportunity is you go and interview for every job possible. And so when people select you, cool. The next one you're in front of, you're unemployed again. Like, let's go to work. And I think that's the opportunity in this business is that consistency and how you keep going. But there's a lot of internal drive. So,
Mhm.
Bella, as an athlete, what was one of your favorite things that drove you every day? Like, got to go to practice. You probably had two a days. You had weight training. Like, what drove you?
Yeah, I wanted to be great for my team. That was one of the biggest things, and just being surrounded by teammates who work hard makes you work harder, and iron sharpens iron, so it makes you just want to work hard and be a team player.
I love
Mhm.
that. So it's no different in real estate. Think of it this way. If you want to be the best for your teammates now your buyer and seller. And
Mm.
they're relying on you and your expertise and the things that you bring to them because they may only do this 2, 3 times in a lifetime. And hopefully you're doing that many per month or more. And so as a result, that consistency that you bring and the ability, it's a confidence builder
Mhm.
that you can show up and it's like, hey, and this is the coolest confidence builder, just as a tip. The best thing you can ever do is tell somebody what they can expect may happen. And then when it does, they're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And then you go, yes, remember I told you this, and this is what it means. And these are your two options now. And let's talk about next. And then you predict the next thing. Now, some of you are like, okay, like that's a little woo woo. No, it's called the
Woo woo.
contract, right? Like in the purchase contract, we know when we go under contract, earnest money's going to get deposited. And we know the loan status report has to come from the lender. And we know we've got to have a home inspection and we're going to get a request for repairs. Like, so it's all scripted for us. We just have to remind people and put it in our voice. And then it becomes, oh, amazing. She knows all the things.
Mhm. Wow. And okay, so looking at your career, your transition into, this huge leadership role, like what are some of the lessons you've learned being in this leadership role?
Well, so this is what I will say. Aim small, miss small. The biggest thing that I did is I started as an agent, single agent, hoofing it out. I sold a lot of double wide manufactured homes. I was really good at that. I wanted to be so good at forms and the MLS that I knew things cold. So I got on committees that helped me learn how the rules were made and how to enact and that sort of thing. Got my broker's license right away as soon as I was allowed to. And I didn't become a designated broker until probably almost 15 years into my career. And I did that and I learned a lot. And there were certain things about it I absolutely hated. I was like, this is terrible. Like, I'm out. So I went back into production. I worked on a big team. I did all of these other things. And then, I don't know, probably 10 years later, 8 years later, I was approached, hey, come be a designated broker. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing that again. Like, that was terrible. It's got to be different. And they're like, okay, so make it different. What I would say in leadership is cast your vision of what you want and be so committed to it that you can sell it to anybody in a way that makes them feel passion and they will walk across the coals with you. What I've found is anytime that I can do that because I believe it and I'm willing to walk side by side with somebody, the burden of leadership is easier. Now there are also days where the hardest conversation is going to happen. And if you're not willing to have it, a very wise friend this morning, she and I were having this conversation and we were talking about hard conversations. And she said, look, if you truly care about somebody, you're going to tell them the truth. And if you don't care about them, you won't. And so some of the hardest conversations I've had as a leader is because I cared so much about someone that it may not have been reciprocated, but I still cared and poured into them. And so when you look at, I guess in my journey, it's finding the way to say it in such a way that is meaningful to somebody else and helps them be better.
That's I've been saying that for years. The missing
Mhm.
conversation is the worst conversation. It's actually worse than the conversation gone bad. And
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you look at relationships and marriages, what happens for decades, they gradually decline in their conversational intimacy, right? And so there's really no intimacy even with their conversation because the conversation is the relationship, right? So if you're not having the conversation, it gradually declines and then suddenly. And then
Yeah.
people go, "Well, what happened? What happened to that situation?" Well, it didn't just happen now, it happened for the last 30 years,
Yeah.
So if you're not having the tough conversations with people, you're not even coming from integrity. If you really love people and you care about them, you're going to tell them with love, with a loving spirit, how much you care about them, but you care about them so much that you're willing to have this conversation. And it's just, I don't think we do enough of that anymore in our society. And people are just so afraid of offending people. And I appreciate you saying that,
Well, you don't have
Holly.
to be a jerk about it. I think the key is when you truly come from a place of love and what you see. And I also know fully that I'm not always right. And so I have to be willing to give and get. And so I have to receive that feedback. And I welcome it because if I'm not, people rely on me at every facet, just as they rely on you all. And if we're not showing up in the ways they need us to, we've missed an opportunity.
Yeah, and I would recommend that book I just quoted. It was out of a book called Fierce Conversations by
Yeah.
a lady named Susan Scott, and it's a book that I've tried to always live my life by, with my personal conversations. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
it's it's a great book. It's on my every other year reading list. Do you have those books that you go back to once a year? Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
several of those, and that's one that's like every other year I try to get to.
yeah. So what are some of the core skills that agents need to bring to the table now versus they over the last couple decades? I mean, Holly, like for example, somebody that's my age, I'm a little older. I'm 54. AI, some of it scares me. Um,
Well, because we grew
and
up with Terminator, dude. Like, come on.
yeah, like, and how far do I go into it, right? Or do I try to finish my career without using it that much, or do I try to embrace it? And then, so how does the next generation differ from ours? And can we make it people like me, if we don't really get
So
into it that much?
I feel you. I feel you at a high level. I think that it's kind of like, how many people do you know are still looking for the real estate book? How many people are giving you their pager number?
True.
Anybody
Zero.
asking for a fax machine right now? Yeah.
Not that I
Mel
know
is
of.
like, "I don't even know what you're talking about. This is like, did we step back in time? What happened?" This is what I will say. I think I love using AI. For me personally, it um, it helps leverage my brain power. So when I have to build a presentation, when I have to build an email, when I have to do a campaign, and so with our company, we're working a lot with Chat GPT, and we're building some specific GPTs to help our agents, to help our staff, and I'm really excited about it because some of these GPTs are like, I'm working on a broker GPT. I'm feeding it everything that a Arizona broker needs to have or know. And this is not to replace a broker because AI can never uh, be part of that human interaction because the
Yeah.
most important thing when you ask the question, skill set, we need to be able to listen and relate because this business is all relationship based. AI is not a relationship, but if I'm looking to, okay, what rule is it in ARMLS that says I can present offers to the opposite side? Is it 3.78 or is that a different one? Like, yeah, what does that look like? So that is designed to help you. I use AI to help me build presentations, which is super fun. But when it comes to making a hard phone call or telling a seller they're overpriced or the buyer lost their house, lost the bid, you got to pick up the phone. And so sometimes you can get scripts out of AI, but at the end of the day, it's a hard conversation. So yes, Jeff, if you're going to be in this business for the next 5 years, I need you to learn a little bit of AI.
Yep.
It's kind of like video. If you're going to be in this business and you're not on video, dude,
Yeah.
let's turn that corner.
The good news is I surround myself with mega young talent like Bella, and they teach me this stuff. So I am pretty handy at it, but it's at first I was pushing back a lot.
Sure.
You want to talk about hard conversations? I remember one time I had a new home build under escrow, and about 5 months into the build, we're about 1 month prior to them closing, the house burned down. I had to call the buyers and explain to them that the house that they loved, already picked out all their options at the studio, burned to the ground. I called them up. I'll never forget that call. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. such and such, are you sitting down? What do you mean, Jeff? No, really. Are you sitting down?
Yeah.
I had to tell them that. I'll never forget it. Talk about a hard conversation.
It's incredibly hard. I sat across the table from two buyers. They thought they closed escrow on Friday. They were given the keys. Friday night, they went to the house, didn't move anything in, fortunately. They left the house. 2 hours later, it burned to the ground. Monday morning at 8:30, we get a call from title that there was an issue on recording. The deed did not record properly. Guess what we had to unwind? It was terrible.
Oh.
And so we had to give the property back. Buyers had to go buy something else. I mean, like all the things. So yeah, if you love somebody, tell them the truth. And I always in a market like now where we do so much via Zoom or virtually or whatever, I will do it in such a way that people can see my face, because I want you to see my eyes. I want you to understand where I'm at. I want you to hear what's going on in my voice when it cracks. So it's important.
Yep. When you look back at your career, Holly, do you have any regrets?
Ooh, probably. I did a pretty good job. I'll say this. I've done a pretty good job of when I was asked to say yes, because it's put me in some pretty cool rooms. And what I mean by that is, I got to influence certain decisions, or I got to, be a part of significant change by just saying yes. I think there are moments where I can look back and go, instead of buying a house as my first house, I wish I'd have bought that duplex, because I had a choice and I could have started investing, but I wouldn't trade where I'm at now. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
career-wise, I'm incredibly grateful where I'm at. Was it perfect? Nah. Would I change it? Nah. I'm pretty grateful.
That's so amazing. I'm grateful for you. I know there's thousands and thousands of agents that are grateful for you, Holly. I hope you know that. I'd like to know, like, what's your next? Like, what any projects you're working on that are exciting, or when you look at the future, what's next for Holly?
So projects I'm working on right now, definitely some of the AI, really trying to find ways to simplify and do things on demand. I'm a big fan of right on time. And I think that is such a powerful statement when you can deliver something to somebody that's right on time, because now the value proposition is exponential, because their benefit of need was right there and you showed up. And so when I look at right on time, things that we're working on, the broker bot for sure, because I think that, how many times are agents writing offers at 10 o'clock at night? And it's like, do I need a counter offer or do I need an addendum? Those kinds of things that people ask. And as a broker, I went to bed at 8:30. So you're not going to get me till, 4 the next morning, which is not when you need me. You needed me the night before.
Right.
So working on that, working on digestible on-time training from a broker perspective. We were so successful this summer with the rollout of the EXP toolkits, both for buyer and seller, some of the master classes we've done. So now I'm trying to distill that down into, 10-minute TED Talk style, like go deep on a singular subject, and how do we deliver that? So again, as an agent's driving in their car, or, sitting down for a quick cup of coffee or whatever, they can listen to something and go, all right, you built my business. I'm good. And they can keep going. Or if they have an hour, super, here's 6. So we're developing that right now for the company. Also really looking at how I leverage and infuse opportunities for our staff to grow, because I think there's a lot of leadership opportunities that are not yet realized within the real estate space. I'm passionate about driving that. What does that look like for our brokers? Because if our brokers have that, then how do they lead our agents differently? So I'm really passionate about what that looks like. Um, and leadership on the whole. I've taught leadership training for many years, gotten to do a lot of things within the real estate space. So I've always got that in the back of my mind of how do I infuse all of those passion points together and grow.
Yeah, I like John Maxwell said, right? All things rise and fall in leadership.
Yeah.
And we were talking today on the Arizona Leadership Council regarding how lucky we are to have the brokers in Arizona that we have. They're so unbelievable. I mean, it's it's funny. People always say to me, "Well, Jeff, how do you get support at a cloud brokerage?" I'm like, "Well, let me tell you, I've lived my whole career in traditional brokerages. I have never once in my career at EXP, which is now over 6 years, not once have I waited over 5 minutes to talk to a broker. When I went to the broker room, and I'm really proud of that, and the answers I get are solid.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that. And I'm really glad you're focusing on leadership development within the ranks of the employees at EXP, because that's key. That's a pretty important piece for us. We have to be able to depend on them, that we go in there and we're going to get good answers. So I know you've kind of led the pack there. I know in Arizona, Kathy's done an amazing job. You were her predecessor, Beth was her predecessor. We've been so lucky in Arizona, to be quite honest, to have just amazing talent lead us on the broker side.
Yeah. I think what I'm passionate about, because when you start to look at the real estate industry, right, we've gone through this crazy amount of change in 2024. 2025, by all accounts, looks like we need to strap in for a rocket ship ride. What's important there is not only are you attracting agents to a company, you're also attracting top quality staff. And how do we continue to do that at such a high level that people are like, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to be a part of. And so
Yep.
if I can do that in a really positive way, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Bells, you got anything else for Holly?
No, I'm so grateful to have met you, and just being a part of this company is just amazing. So thank you.
I'm so glad you're here, Bella. So got to know what, 2 questions. 1, what was your number and why in college? And 2, what position did you play?
So my number was 10. I don't know. I have had it forever when I was younger. And then my birthday is January 10th. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Lucky number, man. I love it.
Yeah, I loved it. And then I played infield. So I played shortstop in college and in club ball growing up, and then moved to second base in college, and then finished my career at third base, which I loved.
So you've got a gun for an arm. All right.
Oh, a gun.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that first to third on a softball throw. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how. Looking back, I'm like, how was I that close to the hitters? I don't know, but
Carefully, very, very carefully.
Yeah, she had a slingshot of an arm. Now, weren't you a catcher, Holly?
I was a catcher. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I took all the punishment. Come at me, bro. That was where I was at.
I love the game of softball. I love women's softball so much. I mean, if I have one, that's like nirvana to me. If I could be on a basketball court or a softball diamond, it's the best.
Yeah,
So,
that camaraderie with people. I don't know. I loved playing as an adult, in the women's league, because we'd be down. I played outfield as an adult, and it was just like you'd be on the outfield, and the sun's down, and the coolness from the river's coming in, and you look around and you're like, these are my people, and there's just something special about it. So, yeah.
So as we wind this up, my friends, if you're listening, this podcast is really designed to be primarily in the real estate context, but to bring on amazing leaders, kind of like a laboratory for leadership, and just really authentic conversations. I'm very grateful for Holly. I think you're going to be amazed at the kind of guests that we have on this show. I have some prime time people of Holly's caliber. And I just can't wait for you to continue to subscribe. We ask you to check us out. It's called the Jeff Sutherland Show on YouTube. And if you're listening to this, whatever platform you're listening to this, we kindly ask you to make comments. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. And I'm just grateful for your listening today, and especially for you, Holly. And I've always looked up to you so much. And I'm so grateful for you that you're leading this company. And I just think the sky's the limit. We have much more to do. And so let's get to work.
100%, friend. 100%. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day.